Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insights to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, good morning and welcome. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, President and founder of the Philantrepreneur Foundation. And I am so excited to be here. It's thrilling to bring tips, strategies, and insight for the business and nonprofit sectors. And I'm also editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal, which just came out a couple of weeks ago. If you want to see that, the latest copy, because it's full of tips on social enterprise, just go to http://JOOMAG, that's JOOMAG.com/philantrepreneur, and you'll find it right there. And it's free. All you have to do is give me your email address so I can keep in touch, but you get the journal for free. But getting to today's topic, as a former teacher, specifically in dance, I've always been really conscious of the power of body language. And Dr. Albert Mehrabian, I always have to take my time with those types of names, taught that when talking about your feelings or attitudes, that only 7% of your message come from the words that you use. He also proposed that your tone accounted for 38% and body language or nonverbal behavior accounted for the remainder 55% of meaning in your message. But however, in this electronic, technology-driven world where the physical aspect is not present and the ability to convey a message has to come through someone reading or listening the right message, and it's more important now to have the right message. And you're now more dependent on the content. So that's why I'm so happy to have our guest today. And many of you have read in the spring 2015 edition of the Philantrepreneur Journals, especially in the article featuring the concept of Michael Drew and his perspective. It was focused on, are you speaking to the right crowd in this we generation? Words, when combined, are powerful tools for inspiring, uplifting, enlightening, informing, motivating, and describing any number of situations. One of the most powerful functions of words is the picture or context that they create for the listeners. Today's guest is Dalya Massachi. I should have got the correct pronunciation. I'm sure she'll give it to us. She's the founder of Writing to Make a Difference. Dalya is the award-winning author of Writing to Make a Difference, 25 Powerful Techniques to Boost Your Community Impact. That resource draws on her 20-plus years of experience as a trainer, writer, coach, editor, executive director, journalist, and grant writer. I'm especially excited because she focuses on writing for social change, which powerfully aligns with the foundation of the Philantrepreneur model. Before we get into the topic of writing, Dalya, welcome to the show, and please provide our listeners with a little context of your background and history.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm happy to speak with all of our listeners as well. If anyone calls in, that would be great.
Absolutely.
You can always contact me afterwards as well. So let's see. You wanted to know a little bit about my background and kind of what I've been doing. I'm pleased to share that with you. Well, it kind of goes back to college, but even before that, I've been a writer all my life, and I also have had a very strong, I would say, pull or affinity for social change and nonprofits and social mission organizations. So I wanted to combine the two, my love for writing and editing and my love for social change work, and I combine them into working with the social sector or philantrepreneurs.
So
that's kind of that's been kind of my driving mission throughout my career. And back in college, I read something that gave me kind of a framework that would help me, and I thought I might share it today. It said, as you go forward in your career, think about 4 things. The first one is, what are you good at? The second one is, what needs to be done in the world? Like, what are some problems that really need solving or some contribution that you can make? And then the third one is something you like. What do you really like? What are you passionate about? And the fourth one is, what is sustainable for you? What would make your life a sustainable kind of thing financially and emotionally, psychologically, in every way? So I thought about those, what I'm good at, what needs to be done, what do I like, and what is sustainable for me in the world. And I kind of, that framework moved me into the direction of where I'm going now, which I consider my contribution to the world, in a kind of pay-it-forward fashion. I feel like I want to be a resource for the social entrepreneur community, and that includes, again, nonprofits, social mission businesses, anyone who's involved in that kind of work. So I'm a writer, journalist, editor, and supporter in any way I can of that community and that work. So as you mentioned, I used to be a full-time journalist. I was a freelancer, and I have taken that work into my work now, where I serve as the project manager, editor, and coach for a lot of people who are working with content marketers, either online or offline. And I help them build their visibility and market position. So that's kind of what I'm up to. And the kind of another piece of my background is I come from the nonprofit sector myself. I was the founding director of the largest network of international development organizations here on the West Coast. I'm in California. And I was director of that for about 5 years. So I come from kind of the trenches. So that's a little bit about my background.
Absolutely. I mean, I love when you gave us the 4 points of looking at a career, because they really align with, I wrote a book called The Wealthy Teacher, answering the question, what's next? And I penned a title called Your You Values. And those 4 elements really align with what I said, because I said your worth and, what do you value and things like that. And so those are, almost the exact same things. I was not looking for people coming out of college necessarily. I was talking or speaking to those that were maybe not satisfied in a career or looking for something else. And so what's next? Because I went through that journey after retiring from many years as a teacher and moving to a new state. I was asking myself, okay, so what's next for me? And I went back to my core, my basics, which is I love teaching. I love the education. I love training and watching people grow and become successful with the knowledge and skills and expertise that I have by just sharing it. Okay, that was my little sidebar there. Okay. We'll get back on topic here. But
I think I was just going to say we're on the same page, and I think a lot of the listeners to this radio show would kind of be there with us.
Yeah, oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's so many that sort of struggle through jobs, and I hate to see those people when they say, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow. I'm like, really? Don't you like your job? Why are you in it? Why are you doing that if you don't love it? Maybe it's time for you to look for something different. And they give me that side-eyed look, and I go, I'm serious. Don't do anything you don't love doing, because life's too short. So that's the platform I stand on. And it's also how I shifted and really got into the whole concept of philantrepreneur. But you founded Writing to Make a Difference, and I've actually been on your website. I hate to say it, I've been stalking you and reading on it many times and looking at it. lot of your blogs and things because I use writing as one of the tools. I currently have 3 books out. I'm working on the 4th one. So I see that's important. I used to do my blogs consistently, but I'm trying to break in a new intern now that will hopefully take that portion over for me. But just today I went back and was looking at blog content thinking, maybe I need to go in there and write a blog right quick. But writing to make a difference, I love the title. So why did you found it, and how does your work align with that of Philantrepreneurs?
Good question. Well, as I kind of hinted, I've worked with nonprofits and social enterprises all of my adult life, right? And I come as a communicator, and I really feel that communication is a key component of all social mission work, as you kind of mentioned as well. If you just look through the job descriptions related to Philantrepreneur work, you'll see that their communication pops up all the time, sometimes in places that you might not expect it to, right?
Right.
So I like to say that your organization might be doing great work and you might be coming up with outstanding ideas, but if no one knows about them or no one can engage with you, then your ideas are not going to travel very far. So that's where the communication piece comes in. And I feel like I have the skills and experience to work to contribute to the sector by working collaboratively with folks. And together we can create strong, clear messages that really articulate their vision and achieve their goals. And those goals could be outreach related, they could be public education related, and they're probably going to be fundraising related. So all of that kind of comes into play. So it's really...
Yes. I'm so glad you're talking about it because just in my last class, and I know, and I interrupt a lot. I'm sorry, but
that's okay, no problem.
Just in my last, I was emphasizing the power of your story. How are you communicating your story? And
yeah,
I had them do a real brief exercise. Okay, just give me your 30-second, or if someone just came up to you and you were introducing you and your organization, what would you say? And so many of them took it to the negative, and I was like, no, let's do the feel. I mean, talk about your success before you talk about your needs. Talk about the changes, the impacts you've had already. And it's hard for a lot of what I call the entrenched or nonprofits that have been in this survival mode for so long. They just get used to saying, we need, before they start talking about the impact and how much good they brought to the world. But once again, that was, and in fact, our next class in August is on developing a compelling story. So this is totally in line with our beliefs, too. But please, go on and talk more about what writing to make a difference.
Okay, well, I can pick. I totally love that you're already going there in terms of really getting positive, kind of starting out in the positive space and thinking about the difference that you're making in the world, the benefit that you bring to the world. In fact, that I'll hold that thought because I'll get to that in a few minutes. I want to talk about that kind of in a larger context. So going back to what I was saying about fundraising, like that, fundraising and communication really go hand in hand when we're talking about social mission work. So I think that is the other piece of it that I bring. I've actually worked with hundreds of nonprofits of all sizes on a wide range of social and environmental issues. So I bring that strategic expertise specifically around grant making, grant seeking, grantsmanship, but I also kind of know about the larger fundraising picture, and that, I would say, is really important to integrate with writing to make a difference. It's kind of part and parcel. So a lot of times what happens in the nonprofit sector especially is you get communication people in one place and then you get fundraising people in another place, and they really need to work together because they are so closely aligned. And the other thing that happens is, speaking of silos like that, then you also get a big separation between people who actually do the work of the organization, the programmatic work, and then you've got these other people who are doing fundraising and communication, and they're separated from the people who are doing their programmatic work, and that's really a problem too, because you've got to get both of those groups working together to create them a message and really talk about the impact or the stories that come from your work. So I'm really pushing that I want to see more of that bridging happen under the umbrella of Writing to Make a Difference.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that we're totally on the same page, and I guess that's why I kept going back to your website and reading some of the content that you have, because I'm very visual, taught dance for many years, and I tend to create diagrams. The diagram I use that describes exactly what was a wagon wheel, that the mission is the axis or the axle that's at the center, or you can even think of a target. But then all of these components, the different areas, fundraising, program, administration, communication and marketing, all of those are connected through the mission, and they all overlap. We almost have this wheel that the positions keep changing, but yet, so some of them are of more importance at different times in that cycle. You have to see it as it's rolling around. Like programming might come to the top and be of more importance, but all of the other components support it. But there has to be internal communication and external communication.
Exactly,
How are you working with each other to give the right message? Because the grant writer or the development person doesn't know what is really happening in the program side or the impact and what's going on unless the program director talks to them and shares and tells them what has come about, what the outcomes are.
So and vice versa. I mean, the fundraising folks can talk to the program folks and tell them, hey, this is really a fundable project, or this would help me to get you some funds if X, Y, or Z were explained or were filled out, that kind of thing. So those two groups really need to work together.
I feel everyone needs to be on the same page. There needs to be constant collaborative meetings of examining how they fit into the whole wheel. So that, once again, that's my teaching style in terms of how I visualize the systems and operations within an organization. So I think you sort of already talked about how you got started in this, finding those key things that were important to you and how they connected your past work in the nonprofit sector. It's almost down the same path I follow. So I understand that one of your main interests is to help nonprofits and social enterprise build their own skills and confidence to craft their own message. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, I've been working for about 2 decades as a writer and editor, to help these organizations get their messages out there and polished, ready to go. But I also have a really strong interest in building their own internal capacity to do that. And I've found that a lot of people feel like they want to go down that path, but they don't have the confidence or the skills they need to really be able to do that. So that's where I come in. As I said, I do a lot of kind of work for people. I do a lot of writing, editing, and grant fundraising. But my real interest, if I were like being really honest with you, Victoria, it's really about helping them to to build their own ability to do it. So I kind of go back to the old saying about teaching a man to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime. I kind of go with that. Kind of run with that.
We are so much in the same, because I don't take the foundation doesn't take long-term contracts. We don't step in and do the job. We are the guide, the teacher. We're there to teach you either what expertise you need in those positions, or teach and give you the skills, knowledge, and understanding of the different systems. But we don't want to do it. And we actually we'll get you up and give you all of the key points, but we're stepping out of the picture. And
it sounds like we're on the same page about that. I really don't like the idea of creating a dependency on an outside person, or an outside contractor, or an outside agency or firm. I really feel like it's important for folks themselves within an organization to be able to carry the ball, so to speak. So going back to the fish analogy, instead of just giving people the fish, which would be doing it for them, I really advocate teaching them to build a strong fishing pole, and then to make sure that they can fish in lucrative waters. That's really where I'm going. Speaking of analogies there, so that's the same thing. I really prefer not to work with people on a very long-term basis. I come in and strategically work with them on points that they need some help on, that are especially challenging for them, and help them build the internal systems to do the work themselves.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. Even though you come from a writing and nonprofit, I feel that you are coming from an educator's point of view. Just how you set up your programs and how you deliver your services and share your knowledge. To me, it's very strong, grounded in the education of others versus doing for others. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really that's where I'm going.
Okay. Well, we can check off that. We're both on the same page there. We're educators and not consultants, basically. So, I love it. Okay, so you talked about some that you want to teach us. So what would be some of the ways that you step in and teach them, give them the pole, and show them the fertile waters, as you say? Right.
Okay. Well, I have lots of different ways, and you probably saw them on the website, but I'll talk about 3 of the main ways that I do it. So the first way is a really easy great place to start with my book. It's called Writing to Make a Difference, 25 Powerful Techniques to Boost Your Community Impact. So that's kind of a handbook or a one-stop shop when it comes to writing to make a difference. So that book has lots of tips, hundreds of tips, and hundreds of examples. I think I counted something like 500 examples.
Wow.
And it has checklists and exercises. Each chapter actually has a workout, what I call a writing workout at the end of the chapter. So it's a bunch of exercises to help folks actually start to get their hands dirty and actually integrate the lesson of the chapter. So I really feel like that's a good kind of starting point or entry point into this.
Okay.
And, so sometimes, I've heard from people that the whole idea of writing or copywriting for a cause, for their organization, it often feels like a cause of its own. It kind of builds into this really hard thing for both accidental writers and people who've been around for a while, kind of veteran folks. So the book really sets out to give people the tools they need to develop those skills and make it less of a chore I don't know, you may have heard of the book called The Elements of Style. Have you heard of that book?
No, but I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a Bible for a lot of writers and editors, and I was fortunate enough to have someone actually call my book The Elements of Style for the fundraising and marketing world.
Great.
So it's really taking it specifically for our kind of work, and and shining the light on the things that we need to keep in mind, and the specific issues that we need to deal with. So that's the book is kind of the entry place for that. And then
I'll put the name of that up on the website too.
Okay, sure. Okay, so that's the first thing, and then the second thing is I work with people as a writing coach, and I also offer document reviews for whatever they're working on. So that's for both leaders and staff members of organizations. So it's really working with me in an individual one-on-one way, so they get lots of focus on their specific needs and challenges. So it's different from going to like a class that's kind of generic. It's really about them and what they need. Because I found a lot of times people have over the years they've learned certain things, but certain things they kind of glossed over, or they forgot, or they never learned.
Oh, you must know me. Oh my goodness.
And that's what. So like that's where individualized help can really be like a laser beam. Go right into that area that you've always wondered about or you could never master. So that's the kind of work that I do as a coach. And kind of the larger.
Talking about just a quick question, because you're talking about how you coach, and I know you've come across many scenarios. Like I said, I've written a couple books, and I've sort of fallen into my own methods of doing it. I don't like doing the grammar and the editing or the proofreading. I'm a content person, and I used to, when I first started writing, just get obsessed with going back and making it correct before it was even finished. And literally would just I would put a self-imposed roadblock, for myself. Not lately, probably for the last year and a half, 18 months, I just do what I call my content brain dump.
Good.
And I pass it to an editor and say, I don't have time to worry about fixing it. I just want to make sure my content, is that a good, bad, or
that's a great, that's a good strategy. I mean, I call that kind of the first draft is really your creative self, just coming out, and don't worry about the structure or, what it looks like, the specifics of the grammar or the punctuation or any of that stuff. Your first draft should really be, as you say, a brain dump, really be your creative self coming out, expressing what you need to express. And a lot of times what you're describing is actually common, that people's internal editor comes out from page one, from square one, and it really hampers them. So that's really good that you shifted from that place to be more.
I thought I was making no progress because I would.
It can really stymie you.
I would write for a few days and then open it up, and for some reason start reading it from the beginning and wouldn't get off the first few pages again because there I am fixing it again. So
right, it can really can be a block for you. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that you moved. I'm glad to hear that you moved past that.
What I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start giving that as a suggestion to other people that come to me, saying they have a block. And just stop trying to make it perfect. Just be authentic and say what you want to say, and then let somebody else worry about fixing it. And that's almost like taking a big monkey that's on my back. It's like releasing me to be free. That I don't have to worry about being perfect.
No, and in fact, what I say is if your first draft is perfect, you're doing something wrong.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Think about that.
Oh, thank you for validating everything I've been doing, because my first draft is definitely wrong.
Yeah, okay, good. So, I mean, your strength and your passion should come across, not worrying about any constraints.
Okay, great.
That's really
important.
important.
On to number 3 of some ways.
Sure. Yeah, well, okay. So just to wrap that up about the coaching, I did want to mention something else about it because I think it's really important. And it kind of goes to what you were talking about in a larger sense. I've found that sometimes people have larger issues around self-expression in general that really comes through when they're trying to write. They have a lot of blocks. They have a lot of memories of maybe English teachers in the past or someone telling them that they can't write or shut up or, I don't want to hear you or that kind of thing. And they may have a lot of issues around that self-expression piece for themselves. So we need to move past that to get them into being able to write freely, from their strength and passion. So that's another piece of that whole coaching work. And then once we are able to move forward, then they can write anything. I mean, they can work on a website, they can work on a grant proposal, they can work on a book, anything, presentation. It's really freeing when you get to that place. So I really like to work with people in that way.
Yeah, coaching them to build their own self-esteem. I could see that being with some young people, just use writing as that vehicle to improve their self and personal worth.
And actually, it's not only young people. I mean, I've worked with people in midlife, or even in getting into senior years who have found that this, working on their writing can really free them up and take a lot of their experience, their life experience, or their professional experience, and be able to share it with others once they're able to work on a piece of writing. So it's a powerful thing. And I like working with people so much that I actually offer a complimentary strategy session to help them explore their needs and their challenges. And we discuss how support and feedback can really help them get where they want to go. Because I've found in my life, and me personally, and in the people I work with, that the two biggest things they need are support and feedback.
Yep.
And that can move them forward.
And that feedback is initially for me with my first book, it was validation, because I didn't want to share it with anyone, because I felt, who wants to read this? And like you said, is it good enough? Just getting past those little barriers. And my manuscript was raw when I gave it to the publisher, but they asked for it, and so I gave it to them. And when we had the conference call, the greatest thing they told me was, oh, my God, the content is so powerful, we don't see any changes that need to be made. I literally started crying. I'm like, seriously? I thought you were going to tear it apart, say, let's start all over. And basically, beyond just a few small changes, I mean, literally, like the title, making it stronger and little things like that, they left my book as is. And I'm like, okay, maybe I do have something to say that's of value. Yeah, we can always write, but for me, it was like, is it of value? Will anybody else want to read it? And so just some of the work that you do and how you coach people, I think, would just validate that, yes, you do have something to say, no matter from what context you have something to say. That's so great.
Definitely. Yes. And that
So
that
you have
kind of,
another.
you want me to tell you about the third way that I work with people?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So and this kind of, the third way kind of leads from that, or can work hand in hand with that. And it goes back to something you said a little while ago about how both of us are kind of coming from a teaching perspective. And that, so my third area is I do a lot of training and speaking with groups. So that can be online or in person. And these days I do more and more online work, actually, with groups. So I do that. I really think that it's important whenever you're doing training or speaking is to include practical advice that people can act on, like, right away. And I also think it's really important to include opportunities for them to get hands-on practice during the training, so that it's not just theoretical, but they actually work on something in a group or by themselves in some way during the training itself. So that's the kind of training that I do, again, both online and offline. And one training series that I'm especially excited about is something that I launched about 2 years ago. It's called the Grantwriter's Fast Track Coaching Program. And it's a unique online opportunity to get hands-on practice, like I said, and this practice is specifically on grant seeking, grant leadership, and proposal development. So if it's for people who are involved in grant seeking in really any kind of way, and they come to me as a group. I work usually with staff members or board members from a single organization, so they can buddy up and support each other, kind of move through the program together. I'm also developing an on-demand version for individual grant seekers, and that's going to come out this fall. So I'm especially excited about that.
Right, and it's just in this area here in Las Vegas, whenever anyone presents or offers a grant writing, grant development, anything that deals with grants, training or classes, they're always filled to the brim. So people are still looking at grants as a highly viable means, even though the amount of funding has decreased. That makes it more important why what you're doing is more important for grant seekers, because fine-tuning and getting it to be the best grant possible with the language that's needed is so vitally important. I'm going to make sure we post a lot of these things on our website and that which goes up on our Facebook page. But right now we're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
The Philantrepreneur Foundation. Build your capacity with our educational programs and professional services. Learn how to be a philantrepreneur. Maximize your social impact and maximize your revenue. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com or philantrepreneurfoundation.org to find services, resources, and training to launch, enhance, or improve your business or nonprofit strategy. While there, sign up to receive the Philantrepreneur Journal digital publication. Today's Philantrepreneur Show tip.
Okay, today's tip is taking advantage of great resources. Through this entire show, we've been talking about a wonderful resource in improving your writing skills. But also some other examples are, as I mentioned before, the Philantrepreneur Journal. It's released quarterly, and this July, our summer edition came out, so I don't want you to miss this issue because it's devoted to marketing concepts, strategies, and trends that impact your effectiveness, which really are in line with what we're talking about today. A key component and indicator in determining if your marketing efforts are working. So have you visited the Philantrepreneur Hub lately? There's tons of information, and in the coming months, it's going to be updated and restructured. So if you're interested in having your company listed on the Hub, contact us today, because we're going to have products and services from starting a company, creating webinars, to getting your own custom phone number. We even have the perfect benefits for your staff or followers in the form of National Motor Club protection. We're going to have Legal Shield on there. All that will benefit what you're doing. So these are also strategies for your nonprofit or business to have additional passive revenue streams. Here at the Philantrepreneur Foundation, we are dedicated to serving you and building your capacity.
The Philantrepreneur Journal, a quarterly digital publication reaching over 600,000 entrepreneurs and nonprofits. Get targeted exposure to reach your ideal customer with our unique Ads for a Cause, where 50% of the fee goes to support our nonprofit training and services programs. Together, we can make a difference, create impact, and build capacity. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com, Marketing Ads tab for all the details. Mention this show and get a 10% discount.
Okay, welcome back as we continue our conversation with Dalya. She's the founder of Writing to Make a Difference. I've already learned so much today, and I feel validated that my, what I call hodgepodge methods of writing were actually the strategies that she helps and wants people to use sometimes. So, coming back into our questions, what would you say is the heart of what you call writing to make a difference?
Well, let's see. Before I get to that answer, can I just say one other thing about the Grant Writers Fast Track program?
Sure, absolutely.
That I was talking about earlier. Just wanted to mention that usually people go to classes, as you mentioned, in the Las Vegas area or really anywhere they are. There are lots of grant writing classes offered, which is awesome. This program is actually online, and it goes over several weeks. So we work, and this kind of goes back to something I said earlier about the importance of practice and feedback. Mm-hmm. You get lots of practice and feedback over several weeks in the Fast Track program because we're working together. We offer each other feedback, and we actually work on real proposals, like real time. So by the end of the multi-week program, you actually have something in hand that you can work with and eventually submit to a funder. So just wanted to point out that that's a big difference between grant writing classes that you may take, which are a great start, and the Fast Track coaching program, which is a little bit more extensive. So
absolutely, yeah. Whenever you hear coaching, that means that there's going to be some what I call hand holding. Through the
and feedback. Feedback is super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll get to back to my question of what do you say the heart of what you call writing to make a difference?
Yeah. Well, if we were kind of wanted to distill it down to a nutshell, I'd really say that it's all about information and passion that you have and in your organization, and you're sharing it with interested readers. So it's going directly to the heart of the information and passion that you've got to share, and you're looking to share it with not just any old reader, but someone who has an interest, right? An interested reader who's pretty likely to be looking for ways to exchange something for the benefits that you offer in your organization. So they may be interested in exchanging just moral support. They may be interested in exchanging some funds or volunteer time or some other way that they can be engaged and involved in your organization, because they see that your organization is benefiting them individually or other people in your community, or perhaps a larger place like maybe the state or the country or even the world. They can see the benefits that are coming from your work, and they want to be part of it, right? If you see something that is inspirational and positive and successful, you're likely to want to be part of it, right? You just want to be...
Right, and also builds interest. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be part
of that. They might not even known they were interested in that, but if your story is compelling enough, you're actually converting them into a follower.
They may you're right. They may have kind of a latent interest or not even know anything about your work, and then if you can communicate that powerfully enough, then they're interested. The other part of that is you as an organization really need to emphasize how trustworthy you are, because these days we hear a lot about organizations that may not be on the up and up or exactly doing what they say they're going to be doing. That should always kind of be in the back of your mind. How can we make sure that our readers know that we're trustworthy? Yes, we want to be inspirational to them. We want to show them the difference that we're making, but we also want to make sure that they know that whatever investment they make in us, investment of time, investment of money, whatever it is, that they will get real results that they can be proud of at the end of the day. Like they help us, we help them, right? So it's really that exchange. The other kind of really important piece of writing to make a difference is to realize that your writing is your permanent representative, and it needs to represent you well, right? It needs to position your work as cutting edge and something that people can really believe in. They can see it moving forward. They can see that you're going to be making changes in the future, and you're going to be engaging new and varied people, right? People, again, who may not even know about your work yet, but you'll be reaching out to them. And finally, your writing can help your organization become a respected thought leader in your field. And that, again, can go back to that trustworthy, inspirational piece.
I was just thinking, when I was going to interrupt, I was going to say to be a thought leader, and there you brought it out right there. It's okay to look at what's been done in the past and to say that you're following best practices. But when I'm reading and looking at different concepts, I always get, I guess, more excited when I see new concepts or something that is not, the everyday, this is a trusted way to do it. I like to look at what's new and is having great strides in, whether it's the entrepreneur side or the nonprofit side. So, and I guess that's why I always feel in my writing it has to be profound, or at least say something of value. So, yes, I'm glad you said being a thought leader. So I know I mentioned earlier about copywriting, where I just do my brain dump and don't try to worry about anything else beside content. So I know you talk about the ABCs of copywriting. So what are those?
Yeah, well, these are kind of the three fundamentals that I like to make sure people at least are aware of as they go forward with their writing. So the first one is to advance your brand. It's really about what you want to be known for, your organization. And I ask people to think about, if their organization were a person, what would that person's identity or personality be? That's really starting to move into the essence, the brand, the core of the organization. Now, of course, organizations of any size and any budget can build their brands, and one great way to start doing that is to think about, what is your uniqueness? What makes your organization stand out from others? And that uniqueness piece is kind of going, again, to the core of your organization. It needs to be so powerful that it gets people talking about you. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Victoria, about a powerful story. So sometimes your uniqueness could be that you're working with underserved clients or you're working in a location that doesn't have any of your services, or you could be working with an innovative way to address a problem that's been around for a long time, right? You might be coming with something new, a new approach that that you want to try out, so that could be your uniqueness. Or perhaps you're working in a collaboration with other organizations in your community, and you play a unique role in that collaboration. So that could be what makes you stand out. But I like to kind of encourage people to really think about that uniqueness piece, what makes, and kind of the visual I use for that would be in a sea of like, I don't know, I just use a picture when I do this in training. It's a picture of a box of apples, and it's all of the apples are green, and then there's one red one that sticks out.
Absolutely.
And that's
I've
the
used
uniqueness.
Yes, I've used that image.
Yeah. So that's kind of the one piece. And then the second piece of the three would be to really engage your specific readers. So you're going to identify who those readers are, and there are probably lots of different segments of readers, right? They're not all one monolith. They're different people, different strokes for different folks. So as you think about who those specific reader segments are, think for each one, how can you help them solve a problem that will inspire them to join you on your road to success? So what problems are they interested in, and how can you contribute to the solution for that problem? That's what you're really focusing on. So in that second one, you're thinking about those readers. What are they thinking about? What do they need or want? So you're going to need to do some market research there to, for example, holding focus groups or doing interviews. Maybe check out what other publications they're reading or watching. That could help you figure out what the trends are, what they're interested in. And finally, the third piece of the foundation is going back to something you mentioned earlier about emphasizing the benefits that they're doing and not just the services or the needs that they're addressing. So it's really going into the positive features. The two questions that I like to help people think through in terms of what are the benefits that are lurking behind those features or those services, the two questions would be, so what and who cares?
Yep.
They're kind of blunt, but so what and who cares? So how does that, whatever they're offering, their service, how does that offering result in something better for the community, right? So in business, in conventional business, sometimes we often use the phrase, what's in it for me, right? But in the social sector, I like to add two more words to that. So it's what's in it for me and us. So and us is added to that.
And I tell mine to stop being it's all about me. I use that phrase. It's not all about you. It's all about them.
That's right. That's exactly right.
The terms.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of the things that you're describing are what I call basic marketing 101. That you've got to do things. But if you just understand what good, solid marketing is, it will help you tremendously in creating your copy and writing good, solid, effective material for your organization. Okay, real briefly, you teach a whole wide range of techniques for effective copywriting, which I was just mentioning. Could you just share a few with us in a few seconds, or I'll say minutes?
Sure. All right. I have 1 minute. All right. So I'll share with you the top three, right? So the first one is converse on paper or on the screen. So it's really about being reader-centered, and just what you said, Victoria, think in terms of you, the reader, not me, the writer. So it's you. It's all about you. The second one would be what I call show and not just telling. Showing and not just telling. So you're going to convey scenes with striking detail and not just summary. So here, the idea is to avoid drawing conclusions for people, but instead you're prompting their own experiences. You are their eyes, ears, and heart. So how can you show them what's going on in the story? It's kind of, the analogy I draw is when you're looking for a new car and you go to a car dealer, they don't just tell you all about the great features of the car. What do? They get you in the car. You're test driving it, right? You're actually experiencing it. So that's what I mean by show and not just tell.
Yep. How does it make you feel?
Exactly. And that goes, again, to the benefits. Show them the benefits of your work. So the third top tip here is cultivate conciseness. Everything needs to be shorter these days than you think it needs to be. So I like to say less is more, especially online. And I use the acronym KISS.
Yep.
I added another S to it. So it's KISSS, which is keep it short, simple, and skimmable.
Okay.
Short, simple, and skimmable. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, all of your tips are just so valuable because even the classes, I might not be talking about writing what I'm teaching, but the concepts are solid concepts. And I guess I never realized how strongly they also transition into when writing copy and doing the writing component of it. So definitely I'm going to have to really stay in touch and share a lot of your information because you can help a lot of my clients and followers to take their organizations in telling their story to the next level. So I know what we've been talking about is crucial. So if you would just tell our listeners how to contact you because you have great resources. Your book, I'm going to make sure that's on our website in our resource hub and also put it in other areas where they can contact you. If you're a member of the Philantrepreneur Foundation, you can email and have Dalya answer a question directly for you because she's one of our Ask an Expert. So, Dalya, please tell us how our listeners can contact you or get more information about your services.
Sure. The best way to do that is on my website, which is writingtomakeadifference.com. Pretty easy to remember, writingtomakeadifference.com. I have a free newsletter, and I also will offer you a sample book chapter if you sign up for that newsletter. You mentioned my blog on my website. I also do regular events, mostly online, but sometimes in person, so you can check that out. And I have lots of other free downloads on my website, so I'm happy to share those with you. You can even meet me by video on my website as well. So if you're on any social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, you can find me there as well.
Okay, and definitely check out our websites. I'm sure in the future I'm going to have some more things happening. Thank you for coming on today.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, everybody. All right. Listeners, please save the date. Remember, October 26th through 28th, 2015, Impact Learning. It's right here in Las Vegas. We are going to be featuring Michael Drew, who wrote the book Pendulum, plus a full day of marketing and then 2 days of road trip, and it's all about social enterprise for nonprofit. Are you a nonprofit and want to tell your story? Sign up right on our website. This has been another great show with tips and insight. We ask, are you a philantrepreneur?
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. Contact Victoria Boyd. Email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.